In 1924, deep within the dense jungles of Central America, a young girl made a discovery that would spark a mystery lasting nearly a century. The jungle expedition, led by her adoptive father, was meant to uncover the ruins of the ancient Maya civilization. What they found instead was a strange object, a skull, but not just any skull. This one was carved from a single block of pure quartz crystal. The skull shimmered in the sunlight, almost lifelike. From that moment, the legend of the crystal skulls was born. Could this be one of the 13 ancient crystal skulls said to hold answers to humanity's greatest mysteries? Were these skulls powerful relics from the distant past, or was there something even more to this tale? Let's journey into the depths of this mystery and unravel the truth behind the legend of the ancient crystal skulls. The story begins with an adventurer and explorer who made his name trekking through the wild and unexplored regions of Central America. Born in Victorian London in 1882, he was not the kind of man to stay in one place. By the age of 16, he had a job as a clerk at the London Stock Exchange. But the excitement of a life of finance didn't last. His yearning for adventure soon pushed him to leave England, and by his 20s, he had sailed to New York, where he made a small fortune working on Wall Street. Despite his financial success, he wanted more than money. He craved the excitement of the unknown, the thrill of exploring untouched lands. So he set his sights on Central America. His goal? To uncover the lost cities of the ancient Maya civilization. The Maya were known for their advanced culture, incredible temples, and mysterious collapse long before European contact. Finding the ruins of these great cities was the ultimate prize for any explorer. Accompanied by his adoptive daughter, a French-Canadian orphan he had taken under his wing after her parents had passed away, the adventurer set out for the jungles of Belize, then British Honduras. His daughter, Anna, had lost her mother during childbirth and her father in the First World War. With no family of her own, she traveled with her new father on these thrilling expeditions, becoming his close companion and fellow adventurer. In 1924, they arrived in Belize and began their exploration of the ancient Maya site of Lubantin, which translates to the place of fallen stones. The city was thought to be buried deep within the jungle, hidden beneath centuries of overgrowth. With the help of local Maya workers, they began clearing the area, cutting through dense vegetation and removing rubble that covered the ancient structures. For weeks, the work continued without any remarkable discoveries. But then, something extraordinary happened. While exploring a pile of stones near one of the structures, young Anna saw something gleaming in the sunlight. She carefully moved aside the stones, revealing an object that would change her life forever. A skull. But not just any skull, a skull made entirely of crystal, carved with such precision that it looked almost like a human skull. Anna was stunned by the beauty of the object. It was completely transparent, allowing light to pass through it in mesmerizing patterns. The skull was smooth and polished to perfection, without a single flaw. Overcome with excitement, she called out to her father and the workers. They quickly gathered around, equally amazed by the find. The local Maya workers, steeped in the traditions and legends of their ancestors, were in awe. They believed the skull was a sacred object, possibly used by ancient Maya priests in their rituals. The adventurer named it the Skull of Doom, a name that would stick as the legend of the crystal skull grew. But this was no ordinary archaeological find. It was linked to a much larger mystery. According to ancient legends, there were 13 crystal skulls scattered across the earth. Each skull was said to contain immense knowledge and power. When the time was right, and when humanity was spiritually and morally prepared, the 13 skulls would come together, unlocking the secrets of the universe and answering some of life's greatest questions. Could this skull be one of the legendary 13? The Maya civilization, which flourished in Central America from around 1500 BC to the 16th century, was one of the most advanced cultures in the ancient world. They built incredible cities filled with temples, pyramids, and palaces. They developed a sophisticated writing system, advanced mathematics, and a deep understanding of astronomy. Their calendars were more accurate than those used in Europe at the time, and their knowledge of the stars was unparalleled. Yet, by the time the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, many of the great Maya cities had already been abandoned, their people scattered, and their culture in decline. The ruins of Lubatun were believed to hold clues about the Mayas' mysterious collapse. The city, located on a ridge between two ravines, had once been a thriving metropolis. Its temples, plazas, and palaces, now crumbling and overgrown, had been silent for over 1,000 years. But now, with the discovery of the crystal skull, it seemed as though the city was ready to share its secrets once more. According to local Maya lore, the crystal skull had been used by ancient priests during sacred ceremonies. It was said that the skull had the power to foretell the future. By staring into the left eye socket, a person could see visions of what was to come. Others believed the skull had healing properties, that it could channel spiritual energy and even cure diseases. The skull, it seemed, was more than just a relic. It was a powerful tool, imbued with mystical forces beyond human understanding. The adventurer was captivated by the skull's potential. He believed that the skull held ancient wisdom that was a key to unlocking the secrets of the Maya civilization. But the skull's powers came with a warning. It was said that anyone who disrespected the skull or doubted its power would suffer terrible consequences. Some stories claim that those who mocked the skull had fallen ill or even died shortly afterward. The skull, they said, was not to be trifled with. As the legend of the crystal skull grew, so did its reputation. It was soon linked to other famous crystal skulls found around the world. In the late 1800s, an Aztec crystal skull had been discovered in Mexico and later donated to the British Museum in London. Another similar skull, believed to be of Aztec origin, was found in Paris and displayed in the Musée de la Homme. And in 1992, yet another skull appeared, this one delivered anonymously to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. Could these be 3 of the 13 skulls mentioned in the ancient legend? And if so, where were the remaining 10? Despite the growing excitement around the skulls, there were also skeptics. As scientific techniques advanced, researchers began to question the authenticity of these artifacts. How could ancient civilizations, without modern tools, carve such perfect objects from solid quartz? And why were there no records of crystal skulls in ancient Maya or Aztec art? In the 1970s, the Hewlett-Packard laboratories in California were asked to analyze Anna's crystal skull. Their findings were remarkable. The skull was indeed carved from a single piece of quartz crystal, a material that is extremely difficult to work with. However, the scientists were unable to find any tool marks on the surface of the skull, leading them to believe it had been shaped by hand, a process that could have taken hundreds of years. Despite this, doubts remained. While the skull was undeniably a remarkable object, it seemed almost too perfect. Some researchers began to suspect that it wasn't an ancient artifact at all, but a modern forgery. After all, quartz crystal is notoriously difficult to date. Unlike organic materials, it contains no carbon, making it impossible to determine its age using traditional radiocarbon dating techniques. In the 1990s, a joint investigation by the British Museum and the Smithsonian Institution sought to uncover the truth about the crystal skulls. Using electron microscopes, they examined the surface of the skulls for tool marks. What they found shocked them. The skulls had been carved using rotary cutting wheels, a tool that was only invented in the late 19th century. This meant that the skulls, far from being ancient relics, were likely created in Europe in the late 1800s or early 1900s. These findings were damning. The crystal skulls in the British Museum, the Musée de la Homme, and the Smithsonian were all modern fakes. The researchers concluded that these skulls had been carved by skilled craftsmen using modern tools, then sold to collectors as ancient artifacts. The legend of the 13 skulls, they suggested, was a fabrication, a story invented to add mystique and value to the skulls. But what about Anna's skull, the one she had found in the jungles of Belize? Could it also be a fake? As it turned out, the answer was yes. In the early 2000s, documents were uncovered revealing that Anna's father had purchased the skull from a British art dealer in 1943, nearly 20 years after he had supposedly discovered it in the ruins of Lubanton. The story of the skull's discovery had been fabricated to build its legend and increase its value. Anna, who had spent decades touring with the skull, charging people to see it and hear its story, had maintained until her death in 2007 that the skull was genuine. She insisted that she had found it during her expedition to Belize in 1924, but the evidence told a different story. The skull, like the others, was a modern creation, likely made in the late 19th or early 20th century. Despite the overwhelming evidence that the crystal skulls were fakes, the legend persisted. To this day, there are still those who believe in the power of the skulls. Quartz crystal has long been associated with healing, energy, and spiritual power, and many people claim that the skulls possess mystical properties. Some believe that the skulls were created by an ancient advanced civilization, possibly even aliens, and that they contain knowledge far beyond our understanding. Even though science has debunked the idea that these skulls are ancient, many still hold out hope that one day the remaining skulls will be found and that they will unlock the secrets of the universe. After all, some mysteries are too tantalizing to let go. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the legend of the ancient crystal skulls. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more fascinating mysteries from history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think there's still more to the mystery of the crystal skulls?